in regards to the folks who make education happen, educator is the most important profession, in my opinion, that we have. And so these educators should be paid not just living wages, they should be paid the same thing that NBA players, football players are paid.
Absolutely.
They should be getting off the chart benefits. They should be
without a question.
It
should not even be a question if they deserve it or not.
If we truly believe in our children, if we say our children are our most important asset, then that should be reflected in the people that we expect to care and educate our children. So we have to treat them just as well as we believe our children should be treated.
I agree. Hello and welcome to the Know Your Rights Camp podcast. I'm Mariela and I'm super honored to be here today with Charli Cooksey. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're going to get right into it because we have a lot to cover.
Okay.
So I'm super excited that you are the education speaker because right now, college and career, I think it's so in line with activism and the current state of affairs with the students. So why don't you first tell us how you got started?
Yeah, so I would say high school. I went to a religious high school and...
Wait, what type of religious?
Lutheran.
Wow.
I'm not Lutheran. I didn't grow up Lutheran, but I went where there was scholarship and opportunity. And we had chapel every morning in the gym. And one of those mornings, one of the administrators decided to imitate a white Jesus, an Asian Jesus, and a black Jesus. And long story short, the white Jesus was perfect with long, flowy blonde hair and blue eyes. The black Jesus was as stereotypical and disrespectful of an imitation as you could imagine. And I can't even repeat what he said and did to imitate an Asian Jesus. I went home and told my mom, and she wreaked havoc. She developed a set of demands. She started organizing all the black parents, and they took the demands to the administration and to the board of the high school and said, if you don't meet these demands, we're going to the media. And there was a popular black woman activist who had a very powerful radio show, and she was prepared. She had them on speed dial, and they actually had some big wins that led to a lot of culturally responsive changes that were implemented in high school. So I really learned from my mom before anyone else what activism looked like firsthand, and I think that she really modeled for me the importance of staying true to your values even when money was on the line. And so honestly, quite a few of the black parents weren't comfortable getting involved because so many of us were on scholarship, but she didn't care that my scholarship was at risk. She knew she had to stand up for the culture she wanted me to experience at that high school and the culture she wanted future black scholars to experience at that high school.
Amazing. And then here you are. You help Black and Latinx entrepreneurs get funding. You funded organizations yourself, created organizations yourself. So talk to me about the first, because I know you have We Outside.
We Outside.
You have We Power.
We Power.
And
we
then you
Power
have
is Outside.
We Power is We Outside, and then you have Inspire STL.
Yeah.
So talk to me about those organizations and what they mean to you and what role you play right now.
Wow. All right. I'll try to be brief here. So I came back to St. Louis after attending an HBCU right outside of Texas called Prairie View. And there I got really immersed in electoral justice work, making sure the students on campus had accessible polling locations, we were registered to vote, and we were prepared to be informed voters. And through that journey, it was clear to me that change happens through dismantling things that do harm to us and building things that do well by us as black folks. And so I was preparing for law school, got a call from a program called Teach for America. I put all the cool cities down where you all are from, New York, LA, DC, but my mom begged me to put St. Louis down on that list. I put it down as number 10 of 10. I didn't realize if you put St. Louis down anywhere on that list, they place you here.
It was a high need area.
Yeah, low demand, high need. A lot of folks didn't want to opt into teaching here, and it was the best thing that could have happened. So I came back, started off as a middle school teacher, English teacher, and I had these brilliant students. I taught English every day, 3 times a day, and I just saw how much potential they had. And I also heard their visions for themselves. I met with the parents and heard the visions they had for their children. And pretty much every young person said they wanted to go to college and not just go, but graduate. So I started to look at the data, and the data was clear that if you imagine a classroom of 25 students, less than 5 were on track to matriculate through college. And so that inspired me to start Inspire STL. So we supported hundreds of scholars per year, and they went on to attend and complete their studies at some of the top colleges across the country. And what's really cool is we have a really, really big school board election in a few weeks for one of our largest school districts in our region. And one of our first ever graduates of Inspire is running for school board.
Wow,
so,
look at that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how...
Congratulations to you and that scholar.
It's congratulations to her, and hopefully congratulations to our public schools and if she gets elected, because we need more young people from the public school system coming back and investing in the future of young people like them. So through that work, I learned a lot about investing in young people's potential, holding space for them to realize their dreams, and recognizing and helping them recognize that their dreams can and should be big enough for others to be well as well.
When folks think about education, they automatically think of, let's get the kids into college, let's get them into career. But the way you do it at We Power is a little bit different, because you're impacting it from an education and an economic justice standpoint. Can you tell me a little bit about what your mission is there and how other folks can support that?
Sure. So the mission of We Power is to activate everyday people to build and wield enough power to bring their dreams to bear. And for us, we are focused on holding space for educators, for parents, for neighbors and residents to dream of a better education system and to dream of a better economy, and then take action so that our region reflects their dreams. And so for us, we're training people on how to be activists, how to be advocates, how to be organizers. We're supporting them with developing bold policy agendas, and then we provide that back-end support as they take action, as they show up to the Board of Aldermen meeting, as they show up to the county council meeting.
And are they voting at these meetings also?
The elected officials are, and so we're putting pressure on them to vote in ways that support our policy goals. And so a lot of people often think of education as K-12 and college and post-secondary. We often forget, and I think it has a lot to do with gender and the economy, that early childhood is a young person's, or should be a young person's, first experience with education. And so for us, early childhood starts at birth. The moment a mother is pregnant, we believe we have to care for that mother, and thereby that leads to caring for the baby. And in St. Louis in particular, it is one of the most underfunded early childhood systems in the country, and Missouri is as well. And so we want to create a day where there's universal access to early childhood, where regardless of your race, your zip code, your gender, your socioeconomic status, you as a parent can know that you can send your child to a safe, affordable, quality early childhood center where they can grow and develop to be prepared for kindergarten. And the research shows that early childhood, 0 through 5, is the most important time of a human's development. But it's a 90% women workforce. It's about 40% women of color, particularly Black and Latina women. The workforce, all women, they are often paid minimum wage. They rely on government aid. They're not even able to afford to send their own kids to childcare. And so for us, we believe that investing in early childcare in particular is addressing gender inequity. It's addressing economic inequity, because it should be affordable and free, just like K-12, and it's addressing educational injustice. We know that education is a lifelong journey, and that lifelong journey starts at birth.
Yes. And I'm a mom myself of a 4-year-old.
Okay.
Yes. Pandemic baby. Yes. So I actually learned that between age 0 to age 5, the majority of like their brain development is happening during that time.
Yes.
And that was so scary to me, because I was like, I only have 5 years to teach her this and this and this. And so what do you think people get wrong when it comes to advocating for better education policies? Because they think some folks will feel like powerless against the machine. But what do you think most people get wrong? And what is one of the smallest steps that anyone can take, whether they're in St. Louis or in their city?
Yeah, I think one piece is seeing one particular aspect of the education system as a silver bullet. that is not the path forward. We have to think about education holistically. We have to think about the role that early childhood education plays, K-12, post-secondary, whether it's a four-year institution, a trade school, or an apprenticeship. And so I think we have to reimagine with a lot more openness what education can and should be. And then from there, I would say, don't overthink it. Not everyone needs to be the next Angela Davis or MLK. Every one of us has a role to play, and every role is important and invaluable. And so that might mean starting by reading a book, understanding a social movement in our history that has led to a change and improvement in our life today. And I would say more tactically, go to a board meeting.
Yes.
Go to a council
Join the
meeting.
PTA.
Join the
PTA
PTA.
mom right here.
Yeah.
Right? Go to the meetings. I think that's the biggest thing. You'll get the backpack full of flyers.
Yep.
But I always tell parents, you need to show up.
Yeah, you really do. And I think, honestly, unfortunately, when you show up to these board meetings, regardless of what educational level it is, you're going to see things that are so enraging that you can't help but want to take action and take the next step. So I think step one is just getting informed, knowing who your decision makers are, and knowing what decisions they're making on your behalf. And then from there, you can decide the right path forward. But I totally believe that PTA is important. It's a good first step. And there are a lot of organizations across the country like We Power focus on educational change. So find that organization, join a community of like-minded people, and then just take action together.
Yes, because there is a lot you can do with the anger.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so I want to talk to you about the Ferguson uprising. And after the Ferguson uprising, you played a major role in mobilizing youth voices and action. How did that moment shape your approach to advocacy and systemic change?
Yeah, for me, pre the Ferguson uprising, I was doing direct service work with young people, and while it was incredibly impactful and important, I realized that I could only support so many students through direct service because our policies and our laws and our social systems are deeply flawed and create a lot of barriers to what educators can do, to what parents can do. And so that moment for me was transformational. And it's unfortunate that someone was murdered at the hands of police for it to be so catalytic. But for me, it was a realization that for us to never return to a day where it's normal for a Black male teenager to be murdered and to be on the ground for 4 hours with his slain body require us to think about what are the laws that need to change, who are the leaders we need to change, what are the ways we need to reconfigure our public safety systems, our economic systems, our education systems, so that we have the right conditions that impact the population level.
Yes, I agree with you. And I love that you do that because I want people to remember they are in those positions to serve you.
Yes.
Right? And if they're not doing their job, then you have the right.
Get rid of them.
Exactly. You have a right as a citizen to demand change, to demand more, to not vote for them. Right?
Yep.
And I want folks to know that they have power.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And sometimes we don't know that because we're trying to survive. We have this, we have that. But I love how you mentioned like small actionable steps and to just make sure that they're there to serve the community.
Absolutely.
And let's hold them to that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, discover our power. And if you know you got power, use it.
Yeah.
And use the anger.
Yeah. And our power is in the collective. I think we often see these like bold, daring, inspirational leaders on social media. They are important, and their effectiveness is gets us only as far as the work that we do in collaboration. And so I would say that when you think about the concept of power, when you think about what power can do to make our community better, you have to think about who is the person next to me taking action. If I'm going to that school board meeting or that county council meeting or that city council meeting, who am I bringing with me? If I'm signing a petition, or if I'm voting, how do I make sure my next door neighbor or my aunt or uncle or sister or brother are voting with me? Because we have to get organized, and that is what leads to change. People getting organized, money getting organized, and then that organized money and that organized body of people determining who should be in those positions of power.
Absolutely. Let's dream a little bit.
Sure.
Yes. So to you, what would a fully transformational future of education look like, specifically for our children, for Black and brown communities? What do you think we need in regards to investments, reforms, for us to have the type of future in education that we want for those generations?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that we have a fierce commitment and protection of making educational institutions centers of joy. I think if nothing else, a young person should be able to walk into a school building and feel like their experiences there are bringing out the best in them, that are putting a smile on their face, even though it's challenging them. And so right now, I think we get so caught up on the standardized test or the metric that we're not centering the well-being and opportunity for young people to just feel safe and happy in a building that they're spending 8 hours a day in. So to me, that is super critical. The second piece is that our young people, particularly Black and brown young people, see themselves and their culture and their heritage reflected in the curriculum. Mm-hmm. And that is not just limited to English. Like, yes, they should be able to read a book and learn the true history of our country, but they should be able to go into a math class and have culturally responsive math experiences that reflect their identity and culture. And then in regards to the folks who make education happen, educator is the most important profession, in my opinion, that we have. And so these educators should be paid not just living wages, they should be paid the same thing that NBA players, football players are paid.
Absolutely.
They should be getting off-the-chart benefits. They should be
without a question.
It
should not even be a question if they deserve it or not.
If we truly believe in our children, if we say our children are our most important asset, then that should be reflected in the people that we expect to care and educate our children. So we have to treat them just as well as we believe our children should be treated.
I agree. Have you seen, there was a study that they invited different educators. They didn't tell them what was happening. They just said, we need you to observe children.
Yeah.
And they brought in a group of diverse kids, and they asked the educator to keep an eye on the kids and to see like who was going to break the rules. And so the kids are in a classroom, they're playing, the educators are behind like the glass, and they're looking at the kids. Who do you think was the child that those educators surveilled the closest?
Of course, the Black boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was this idea of that sometimes our Black boys are even perceived as a threat before they even do anything.
Yep.
And when you mentioned walking into a school and feeling joy, or just being in the presence of people that are joyful to see you, that's a part of education that people don't even realize.
Yeah, I totally agree. I believe that we are navigating this insane attack on DEI, where one, DEI is not even the right language to, it's such an oversimplification of a very rich body of work to support the well-being of Black and brown folks and Indigenous people and people of color. And I know that there's been this big push to like build the capacity of educators to be culturally responsive, culturally competent, but also we just need to figure out how to get more people of color in the education workforce. We need folks who understand the lived experiences of our young people taking on those careers. And I do believe that a lot of that has to do with paying better wages, providing more support and professional development, and really creating a space where educators are celebrated and supported so they can create that same environment for our young people.
I agree. And I went to college. I'm in the college landscape. But I'll be the first to tell you that college is not the only way.
No.
Right? I always tell my students, I need you to leave this building with your diploma and a plan.
Yep.
And so whether you're going to college or not, I need you to have some type of plan. And I want students to be able to understand that they're lucky to be in a space where there are a lot more resources for them. But it's making the connection between the resources and the students that tends to be like where we fail. But I want to ask you, you're from St. Louis originally, but you went to school out of state. Were you trying to run from family? Like, I'm out. I don't want to go to college here. What was that experience like for you?
I wasn't trying to run from family, but I do like to run to adventure.
Ooh, I like that.
I love traveling. I love new experiences. And I always know that because my family is so amazing, this will always be home base. But it was a culture shock. I grew up in the hood. I lived in the hood my whole life until like 3 years ago. When I went off to school, I was in rural Texas. Like, I literally remember a time where I saw a cow. walk past my window, and I was like, is this real? Like,
just chilling, walking by.
I'm used to stray dogs, not cows. And so my roommate, we went there to play tennis, and she was from LA.
Oh, you play tennis?
Yeah, so I went there on a tennis scholarship, and Texas has a culture of its own, so that was already quite engaging. But to me, that college experience, especially at a HBCU, was just so fulfilling and so dynamic. It taught me that Blackness is not a monolith. With the skaterboard kids, we had the cowboys, we had the athletes.
Well, you know, Black people were the original cowboys.
Yes. And I think that seeing that firsthand just reminded me how amazing our history is, and how that history is reflected in even my generation's way of being and existing. And so I would say those 4 years at that amazing HBCU, Prairie View A&M University, prepared me for the rest of my life. And there's not probably a week that goes by where I'm not reflecting on a moment at that university and how that has helped me learn how to navigate really difficult situations now as an adult.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I stayed home, so that's why I'm always a little jealous of people that
it was so good. But you're from New York, so
yes.
That I think you can't beat New York.
That's true. That's true. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we have 575 youth.
Wow, that's amazing.
In attendance for the camp.
Yeah.
What do you want them to remember from your presentation?
I want them to remember that change takes time. For us to protect our future, for us to break out of this current political climate, is not as simple or quick as a TikTok. Or a reel, and that we have to figure out how to stick in it for the long haul and care for ourselves along the way.
And let's keep pushing for
sure.
a truly transformational like education journey for all the students. And thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Of course. And thank you to you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know when all our podcast episodes are coming out. And if you want more information, make sure you visit us at knowyourrightscamp.org. See you next time.